Hello, good morning. Welcome to SSUC. Welcome to this circle when you join us here in this place at this particular time, but also welcome to those of you who gather with us online. A hearty hello and welcome to all our community of SSUC folks who join us, well, wherever you happen to join us from. Exploration, going deeper into our living, coming to connect with new or old friends, looking for a hello or a hug, seeking wisdom for our living or support for our challenges. These are all reasons we're here. They're all important. And regardless of what brings us today to gather with our community, we're welcome. Let's open to deep wisdom, knowing that we're each important and valued in this day. We gather knowing that we join together regardless of who we are, that we're welcome, all of us, all sizes, all ages, all colors and cultures, all genders, all sexualities, all religions, or many or none, all abilities and statuses and types, all people, period. We are welcome and we affirm each other in our gathering and know that any place that is a place of spiritual exploration should be a place that is open, where all are welcome. And so in this time and in this place, we join not just with words, but with our connection and with our singing and with so many ways of our being, our whole bodies. Let's join together in a song to help us open to this time.
May this time deepen our resolve to live in ways that build the world we want tomorrow. May this time inspire us to act, to live the words we say, to learn and grow. In the shortness of our time, each act of love a wonder sublime. May this time deepen our resolve to seek the light and help its brilliance grow.
We light this candle. We light this candle as a reminder that we are all lights in this world. And as we learn who we truly are, as we awaken to the awe and the wonder of this world, of our existence, of our place in the world that we share with so many others, may we see ourselves as a light for others and for ourselves. In words attributed to a very wise teacher 2,000 years ago, we all have light within us that we recognize as the light of love. We are to let that light shine. May this candle that we have just lit and the ones that you have lit at home to be part of this community continually remind us that we live in a world that is looking for light.
So it is in the spirit of welcome that we honor the land we find ourselves a part of. Edmonton, Amiskwachie, Waskagan, Treaty 6 territory, home. When we gather here, we acknowledge and respect the history, languages, cultures, spiritualities of the diverse Indigenous people who have and do call this home. The legacy and teaching that we can learn and the gratitude we have to live, work, make our homes on this land is a gift to us. We commit to the work of good relationships, continued reconciliation, and partnership together. And then for Indigenous Peoples Month, we've also just added a little reading from an Indigenous author or leader. And for today, I wanted to read something by Senator Murray Sinclair. And that is, reconciliation at its heart is simple. I want to be your friend, you to want to be my friend. And if we're true friends, then we'll work it out. We want our children to live beside each other in a mutually respectful relationship.
May this time deepen our resolve to live in ways that build the world we want tomorrow. May this time inspire us to act, to live the words we say, to learn and grow. In the short bursts of our time, each act of love wanders the blind. May this time deepen our resolve to seek the light and help its brilliance glow. We will help love's brilliance grow.
Today we have the distinct honor to welcome a few folks among us in the community. And some of them will be familiar faces to you. Because who's to say who wants to mark a time of welcome and affirmation in the life of community? It could be someone who's just recently here. It could be someone who's been here for a long time. And we're grateful for all of the ways that we do this. So today, Ian, Joyce, Marg, Mary, and Tom, joining us from Saskatoon, will be participating with us today as those who want to honor their place with us and ours with them. So I will invite those in this room, Ian, Joyce, Marg, Mary, come forward, stand here beside me. And we get to have a little bit of fun in participating with each other in this ritual. We all mark important milestones of our lives, and there's no better place than within community to honor these milestones with meaning and ritual. For all of us generally, and for these folks in particular, we set aside this time to mark the ways we've found connection and community with each other, and to celebrate that though we're all different, we're not just welcome, we belong. So in this way, I will speak these words to these 5 individuals, Ian, Joyce, Marg, Mary, Tom. Spirituality is a life journey of meaning-making and attuning ourselves to the values we wish to lead. It's a process, not a destination. And we're all pilgrims. We honor that there are many ways to participate in the spiritual community with our presence, with our time, with our passions, with our creativity, with our unique resources. Taking it slow or diving right in, front and center or in the background. Today, we celebrate you, our friends, who already belong and have taken your place in this community in so many different ways. So we have something we're going to do with something we're all familiar with. These runners, table runners, sit on our table each and every week. They're a part of who we are. They're part of identity. They communicate belonging. They also communicate a lot of our values. They are made of little squares of fabric quilted together to be one piece. They're also the color of a rainbow that has significance and meaning to us all. And I invite the 4 of you to hold a piece of this as we ask you to speak words that you have today. I realize the only big one is that one. I'm so sorry.
I honor and mark this time of connection to SSUC as a partner in my meaningful living. I celebrate that it is here that I choose to explore and live my spirituality, walking the path together with others. I seek to continue enriching our shared work in the ways I will celebrate diversity, inspire compassion, engage life with spiritual depth, and make a positive difference in the world. I affirm that I am one important thread in the tapestry of life and one shade in the rainbow of belonging that is SSUC.
I will invite you, even though the table looks quite full, I'll invite you to place that banner on our table in a place that looks like it'll fit.
Charles would have us fix that.
We can fix it. No worries. Just me being a klutz. That's right. And Tom, we saw you speaking. I'm sorry we didn't hear you. There's a little bit of a lag and a delay, but we know you're there and we're with you. We're with you. I want to invite a few folks that I've invited as representatives of the community to come forward now that will help us in our welcome of you. And these folks are going to come at this side of the table and hold... Oh, you can hold his hand in a moment.
Oh, I want to hold it.
Hold a piece of this banner, of this fabric.
Okay, I'm discombobulated.
Because we are all community and gathered community that are here, that are online. Everything we do grows out of the strength of our relationships, our commitment to our highest values, and our willingness to walk the journey together. We can celebrate these friends with our presence, our partnership, and our words of action, of affirmation, and welcome. Let's speak these words together. As soon as we get it on the screen. There it is. Friends, we seek to be a source of support, affirmation, and encouragement always. We offer to share our stories, wisdom, and experience as you share with us. We will walk together as we seek to deepen our spiritual lives, support one another, and broaden our social responsibility. May we all share in the tapestry of life and shine as a rainbow of belonging with each other. Thank you. Thank you. And you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to stay. This community candle that we light every week is one of many symbols we celebrate within our gatherings. This light reminds us of our connection, whether we're present with each other in this room, at home, separated by geography, circumstance, illness, or even death. The light honors our oneness as humanity, our connection to all of life in animals, plants, and the very life and health of our planet. Friends, each of you has a candle on this table. Tom, you have a candle with you. So, friends, receive this candle and help each other bring it to light. And one of you that's close to the little taper there can start it off. On behalf of the whole community, may your light burn brightly always. May it be a reminder that your light joins with ours and with the entire cosmos. May it remind you of community, affirmed and loved just as you are and come what may. And may we all be enriched by the journey we take together as we grow, work, and shine in all we do. So friends, let's celebrate belonging. Thank you. Yes, take your candles. Take your candles. They're yours. They're a reminder for you always. Or until you burn it right down to the end. We're going to sing a song, and it's a song of community. And we are in this semicircle around us and now celebrate that we can sing as one, strengthened by even more voices and more connection. Let's sing together.
I'm not just welcome, I belong. With kindred spirits we are strong. I'm not alone, we are will be our great source, our strength and guide. Love, just as we are, our light will shine with pride. I'm not just welcome, I belong. With kindred spirits we are strong. I'm not alone, we are together. We share one heart, love is our song. Hearts afire to the wonder of our lives. Learning, sharing, serving till no planet rise. I'm not just welcome, I belong. With kindred spirits we are strong. I'm not alone, we are together. We share one heart, love is our song.
It's our time for all ages. I welcome anyone who wants to come to the carpet or the front row. You're all welcome. And as we sing that song and participate in that welcome ritual, it's a new chance for us to explore how we mark our belonging in all of our different communities, in our families of choice or birth, in our communities like this. And so we'll have a chance to do this late in the fall again. Hi, everyone. Hello. Where did I put my book? I left it over here. Okay. It's our last Sunday in Indigenous History Month, and I wanted to choose a wonderful story written by Katarina Vermette, pictures by Julie Flett. It's called The Girl and the Wolf. Have you read that one? Well, you can never read a book too many times. Let's read it again. Yeah. Okay, I've got pictures here, and there's pictures on the wall. The girl ran through the bush while her mother picked berries. She was helping, but mostly running. Don't go too far, her mother cried. It's going to be dark soon. Okay, the girl said, but kept running. Suddenly, the girl looked up and couldn't see her mother anymore. She panicked and looked one way but didn't see her. She tried to calm down and look the other way, but she couldn't see her. Have you ever been in that situation where you felt lost? Oh, yeah. Have you? Whew. It is scary, isn't it?
I think it happened to me.
It was thundering too?
But I'm not sure.
Oh my goodness. You don't remember. Well, I'm glad you don't remember because it is scary. And you know what? It's scary for a parent too, let me tell you. Everything got quiet and dark. The girl felt cold and scared. She didn't know what to do. I don't know what is going to happen here. But the title of this book, The Girl and the Wolf, there must be a wolf in this story. I see it too. Out from between the trees, a tall gray wolf with big white teeth appeared. The girl was very still. What are you doing out here by yourself? Asked the wolf. Oh, it's a talking wolf. I lost my mother, she said. I can't see my way back. You must be scared, little one, said the wolf in a quiet voice. Yes, I am, said the girl. Do you know the way back? He asked. The girl shook her head. The wolf came up close and sniffed her. The wolf's breath was hot and it stunk of meat. "I think I know where you come from, little one," said the wolf. "But it's almost dark. You must be hungry." "Yes, I am," the girl nodded, and her stomach rumbled. "Do you know how to hunt?" asked the wolf. The girl shook her head. "What are you going to do?" asked the wolf. The girl looked around. Everything was quieter and darker. The girl felt very cold and very scared. "I don't know," she said sadly. This is getting to be a scary story. "Yes, you do," said the wolf. "You do know what to do. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Then look. What do you see?" The girl did what he said, and when she opened her eyes, she saw something that made her feel better. "I can eat those berries. They're safe to eat, the ones by the stream where the water is safe to drink," she pointed. "That's good, little one," said the wolf. "Let's go." The girl drank in gulps and ate 2 handfuls of berries. "Now what are you going to do?" said the wolf. The girl looked around. Everything was still quiet and pretty dark. I don't know," she said. "Yes, you do," said the wolf. "Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and look. What do you see?" The girl did what he said, and when she opened her eyes and she saw something that made her feel better. "The skinny tree over there." "That's where we camped," the girl said with a big grin. The gray wolf nodded and smiled at her with his big white teeth. The girl started walking but was really running. She ran to the air that smelled like her family. She laughed out loud and looked to her side, but she didn't see the gray wolf anymore. She looked one way but didn't see him. She looked the other way but still couldn't see him. No wolf. Just then her mother appeared with her basket full of berries. "Oh, my girl," her mother cried, "I told you not to go too far." "Mama, I was lost and a wolf helped me," the girl told her. Her mother was surprised. "A wolf?" "Yes," the girl said. "He was big and gray, and at first I thought he was going to hurt me." Her mother smiled. "Real wolves can hurt people. But I've heard old stories about wolves who help lost children, too." The girl smiled. She was glad the wolf had been the helping kind. Me too. When they returned to their camp, the girl told everyone about her big adventure and her special wolf. That night, she tied tobacco in red cloth and left it at the bush's edge. She left it right by that tree. She did that because she didn't know any better way to say thank you. That's the end. When I was reading that story, were you scared that that was a different kind of wolf? Yeah. I was scared at first. I thought when the author started talking about his big white shiny teeth, I thought, uh-oh, that sounds scary. What's that wolf going to do?
I thought he was kind of just going to pretend to help.
Just pretend to help.
But then he's going to eat her.
Yeah, that story could have gone a different way, right? But this story, I love that this author told us this story because it helps us to think about the things that we know inside that we forget that we know. That even when we're lost and scared, we know things. And we're strong on the inside. That wolf reminded the girl to look around, see what you see. What can you do? And there might be something. that we know because we're smart and we're strong. Thank you, Wolf. And thank you, Katerina Vermette, for writing that story. So, all of you strong and smart people, if you would like to go to Kids Spirit for, sadly, our last Kids Spirit
Well, there's a camp.
until the summer break. Well, there is camp. You're right, there's camp. Don't forget about camp. Tell your parents. Yeah, Daisy's here. She wants to have some fun with you in Kids Spirit today, if you'd like. Off you go. As we continue, we'll just take a short time for some invitations and announcements and for running around the room. If any of you else want to do that too, I highly recommend it. A number of you have some invitations and announcements about what's happening today or through the week. And I just wanted to take a quick moment to celebrate SSUC Saskatoon and those folks who walked in the Saskatoon Pride Parade recently. Some pictures of them with their banner and in the parade. And what a way to celebrate, to also to mark our affirming spirit and community to the world in this way. On an entirely different note, I want to recommend highly to you the upcoming Sunday gatherings in July. Even though I won't be here, there is a lot happening. And with great thanks to the Spiritual Gatherings team, they've put together a slate of 5 Sundays through the month of July that are going to be very exciting. You'll get a chance to hear from 5 or more individuals and groups of people who will share some stories, some reflections, some time with us as a community. So please enjoy those 5 Sundays as I enjoy some time to recoup, rest, get away a little bit. And though I'll miss you, I'll be back in August, and I'll be thrilled to hear all of the things that have happened. And just so you know, there is a plan in place in case of crisis or emergency pastoral care needs, and these names and numbers are in your e-messenger, and there is someone to contact who will then forward you to the person that can handle that need and that request. So have a wonderful July, everyone. Yes, Linda, come tell us about our underwear situation. That needs context, doesn't it?
Yes, thank you. This has been a busy week. I got a lot of money last week, and I didn't get a chance to spend it all because I was away for the first half of the week, but I came in this morning, and the box is full. So I'm guessing we're over 600, over 650, and I still have money to spend. I was at a store buying early in the morning. I went there when they first opened, and the girl said to me, "Why are you buying all this underwear?" And I said, "That's a good question." And so I said, "I'm buying it and I explained in my best teacher voice about the Drop Your Gaunch campaign. And there was nobody behind me, so she was quite interested. She'd never heard of Bissell. And so I was telling her about all the things that Bissell does. And she said, "I'm going to tell my manager, so maybe I said, "It would be nice if you donated as a company." I don't know, those big companies, it probably takes 2 years to get it through, but you never know. Anyway, Bissell has been really busy this month. They had Pride celebrations. They have had Indigenous history celebrations. And on Thursday, they launched a book. And it was done with the Bissell Fetal Alcohol Spectrum of Services. And it's called Born Broken: Reflections on Life and Resiliency from Individuals Living with FASD. And it spoke to my heart because as a former teacher and high school counselor, I dealt a lot. Teachers would be pulling their hair out. What am I going to do with this kid? So I know that that struggle happens right through adulthood. And here is another way that Bissell is helping. So when we buy Gaunch for them, we're helping in another way. So thank you, everyone. I'm still open to more. This is our last week, and I'm willing to be out there buying, or if you want to buy and bring them in, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning. I just wanted to invite you all to stay after the service this morning for stew and bannock and berries and 3 short movies about Indigenous issues. So if you can, please stay and also maybe help us set up some tables and chairs. And I'd also like to let you know that our elder, Elsie Paul, is still in hospital. I spoke to her publisher, the publisher that publishes the Kukum calendars. I spoke to him this week, and he is asking different people who are associated with Elsie to help make a book to cheer her up and basically remember the good times they had with her. He wants to present this to her sometime this summer. So I invite all of you. There are 2 big white pieces of paper on the table in the foyer, and there's some pens and color pens and stuff. You can draw a picture, write a memory, or even bring in a picture or something next week. I think we'll keep it here for a couple of weeks at least. So if you have something to say to Elsie, please say it on that piece of paper. And I got, I think, 5 or 6 2023 calendars from the Kukum group. If you'd like to buy one, they have excellent teachings in them. Even though half of the year is gone, the teachings still remain. So if you'd like to buy one, that would be just great. They're just $20, and I've left an envelope there for the money. That's it. Pardon me? Well, the money's actually going to go to Elsie. The publisher wanted to help her however he could.
My name is Claire Woodbury, and I'm your gathering companion for today. And our wisdom in reading is from John's Gospel, words written down some 60 to 70 years, as best we know, after the death of Jesus by a member or members of the Jesus community. When Jesus arrived in Bethany, he found Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, only a couple of miles away, and many were visiting Martha and Mary, sympathizing with them over their brother. Martha heard Jesus was coming and went out to meet him, and Mary followed. When sympathizing friends saw her run off, they followed her, thinking she was on the way to the tomb to weep for Jesus. Mary came to where Jesus was waiting and fell at his feet, saying, "Master, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her sobbing, and their friends along with her, he was deeply troubled. He said, "Where have you put him?" "Master, come and see," they said. And now Jesus wept. The friends said, "Look how deeply he loved him." Others among them said, "Well, if he loved him so much, why didn't he do something to keep him from dying? After all, he opened the eyes of a blind man." Then Jesus, anger welling up within him, arrived at the tomb. It was a simple cave in the hillside with a slab of stone against it. Jesus said, "Remove the stone." And then he shouted, "Lazarus, come out." And he came out, wrapped from head to toe and with a cloth over his face. Jesus told them, "Unwrap him and let him loose." These are words passed down through the Jesus tradition. May we find wisdom for our living.
It's a very dramatic reading. Thank you, Claire. We've been talking about life's transitions over the last many weeks. We took a little break there through some Sundays in June, but we've been talking in this series about various different life transitions we find ourselves in. And today we'll conclude the series with the seventh and final life transition, and you may be glad you're here or you may not be, since it really is about the ultimate life transition. I'm talking about death. Death may be the last great taboo. We don't want to think about it. We're reluctant to talk about it, which is perfectly natural because we're powerless over it. So we'd prefer to just push those thoughts away while we seem happy to talk about every other life milestone or passage or event or what have you. When it comes to death, we're mostly silent and often totally unprepared. But this behavior might be akin to ostriches who hide their head in the sand, since every single one of us, whether we're ready or not, and whoever we are, whatever our story, will die, will be touched by death. We aren't really helped in this whole attitude by our culture, our Western culture, that is, that sanitizes anything that has to do with this topic. We dole out the dealing of it when it happens to professionals so that we don't have to even see it or deal with the real tasks involved in our deaths or in the deaths of those around us. A culture that also sanitizes the topic in favor of optimism and capitalism that has convinced us we can, if not avoid, then at least distract ourselves from our own deaths well enough to get on with the day. Just do a little more online shopping, a little more this and that. We'll surround ourselves with things that will not remind us of our deaths. We aren't helped either by the Christian church, who developed whole belief systems around the idea that death was somehow not final. It's all contributed to us not having a very realistic relationship with death at all. The result, when you don't talk about it, it gets imbued with a power that breeds fear. Ironically, in order to live fully, we have to be able to talk about and embrace our mortality. This is the only way through. The loss and the grief of it all, what it could be to find meaning in our mortality in a way that doesn't rely on old, perhaps tired religious ideas and beliefs, but ways that speak to us with honesty and integrity. As Mark Nepo writes, the gateway to meaning is not in avoiding loss or getting over loss, but in the effort to accept what is while keeping our hearts open. This story of the death of Lazarus is one in the Jesus tradition that may have some valuable wisdom to share with us, even though on the surface it seems like just one of these miracle stories about Jesus doing some unbelievable, extraordinary thing that we wonder what we should do with this story. But let's give it a chance here. It's a story about a group of Jesus' closest friends. These were, apart from the group that were kind of following him around and teaching around the countryside, these were kind of his home base buddies. Like whenever he came to Bethany, these were the peeps he hung out with: Mary, Martha, Lazarus. And so he hears that Lazarus is sick. He heads towards Bethany, and really, I mean, imagine this. He's sick to the point of dying, and Jesus is literally walking towards that death. This is important in the story. He walks toward the death of his friend. He doesn't run the other way. He walks toward it. We can take some note of that it's easy to be a friend when things are going well, when we don't have to confront these very, very hard things. It is very difficult to walk toward a friend when that friend is dying. Alas, by the time he got there, he died. And he enters this scene of grief and loss. And Mary and Martha talk with Jesus, obviously. They're good friends. They say, if you'd been here, he wouldn't have died. Ouch. But they're not the only ones with some harsh things to say, because those who are mourning around the family too, the friends, the neighbors, they chime in too. Could not he who opened the eyes of a blind man have kept this man, his friend, from dying? Like, what's going on here? all of this response to the reality of death reflects something really valuable to us in the spiritual tradition. The writings of prayers and psalms, if we choose to read them, are full of crying out, complaining, whining. Why? Why does this have to happen? And in the world of this story, space is given for that kind of lament and grief. You know, these folks, they're not trying to blame Jesus, really. They're releasing their anger, their frustration, their total fed-upness with the whole scenario of why does this stupid death thing have to happen? It's not fun. And so time in this story is given for lament and grief and bargaining and anger and objection and all the things that we do when death comes close. And we all know through the real lived experience that there are no simple answers to why. There are no comebacks for the blame. There's no adequate responses no matter what your theological perspective. What we think is comforting actually probably isn't. Nothing satisfies our need to make sense of death or tragedy or loss, and in the face of death, most of us don't even have the words. We don't even have the words to comfort. We feel totally tongue-tied and inadequate. Nothing works. Nothing is enough. And this story does have one response to grief. And it's not in words at all. And maybe that's another thing we can take from this story. That the response to death and grief is not in words, but in actions. Jesus arrives on the scene, enters into the grief of Lazarus' family, sees the people of his community gathered around crying. He's deeply troubled, it says in the text. And when Mary and Martha take him to the tomb where they laid him, he begins to weep. This really is just a story of a friend present to the raw and difficult emotions. It's a friend not afraid to express compassion and deep feeling to the ones he loves. Because sometimes all we need is someone to share in the overwhelming nature of it all. That if this is this big and I feel this small, then maybe someone next to me can help me feel just a tiny bit bigger in the midst of the immenseness of it all. With no words at all, someone that sees me, hears me, feels alongside me. Now, I stop here in the story. We'll get back to it later. Just hit the pause button. To say that it doesn't matter what belief structure we have in our life. It's not my job to take away anything that anyone holds dear who firmly believes something that is comforting to them. It doesn't matter to me whether you believe in a life after this one or not, whether you have an interpretation of heaven, and if it's the same as anyone else's, whether you think we continue in our atomic building blocks, that nothing is lost in the principle of the conservation of energy, or whether life simply ends and we become, as philosopher Cornel West puts it, the culinary delight of terrestrial worms. Doesn't matter. What does matter is that confronting the fear and walking the reality of our own deaths gives us something that is immensely valuable. In the midst of a million things that are not great about death, the one thing that the awareness and reality of it does give us is an ending, a period at the end of a sentence. which if you've ever read my reflections in printed form, you would beg for. Our relationship with endings, particularly our own, can bring the strength we didn't know we had. I want to explain that. Without ending, there is no urgency. Without an ending, there's no need to further the plot of our story. Without an ending, our living would become shapeless, difficult to sustain our enthusiasm for any of the wonderful and significant things that we engage in. Many of us, regardless of our personality type, need a deadline. And I don't say that glibly. I mean it. It's made clear to me in every memorial service that we host here within our community that starting with the conversations we have with those who are dying and continuing after their death with that person's family and friends are the importance of the story of what can be done with a finite amount of time. And the questions that arise in those conversations, which I never for a minute forget about the distinct privilege it is for me to have those conversations with these people. The questions that arise in the center of it all are the heart, are the whole crux of it. Questions to those that are dying like what principles do you live by that have given your life meaning? And to hear someone answer those, oh my goodness. Who do you believe you've ultimately become? And what got you there? And to hear people answer those questions. And then afterward, to family and friends, to hear the answers to the questions of what have you learned most from your loved one? What stories do you tell that help you remember them and the values they lived by? It all comes down to those stories we tell. This is the legacy that will outlive us all. What ways did we live that made a difference to those who knew us? This could be a memorial service reflection, but it's no good there, you see, because it's focused on one person. And although we may take from it, we're thinking about that person's memory. To do this outside of the context of a memorial helps us to turn it exactly where it's most uncomfortable to turn it, and that is on ourselves. What will outlive you? Me. How am I living? What am I doing? How am I loving? In the Muslim tradition, because we're not in a silo here, in the Muslim tradition, there's a concept called sadaqah jariyah, loosely translated to ongoing charity, which are good deeds and knowledge left behind that continue impacting even after a person has died. This sounds so familiar to those of us that hear the legacy of loved ones being shared. We'll hear stories, for example, like, my uncle used to tutor kids in the community for free, and I realize that he used to plant fruit trees in different areas too. And when I think of him now that he's gone, I realize I'm his nephew. I could work with kids. I could give away the fruit on those fruit trees he planted. This is my way to honor and remember him. Our living our stories lead to our legacies. I want to tell you about a little study that was done, begun in 2017. It's based on personal interviews with elderly folks who would define themselves as non-religious. The 97 stories collected in that study confirmed to the people who hosted that study some of the conventional assumptions about non-religious people. For instance, most do not believe in an afterlife. Okay. Most do not think the universe has an inherent purpose. Okay. But contrary to conventional assumptions, these understandings did not lead any of them to despair. Instead, a large percentage construct their own meaning-making narratives. These narratives function similarly to religious narratives by helping to make sense of the past, to offer direction and inspiration for the future. They articulate the meaning of human existence to something bigger than themselves, bigger than just one person, the connection of one to others, with a moral dimension somehow that's part of the impact. What that says to me is that in all of those conversations, that it's the stories we tell, religious or not. It's the stories we write with our living that make meaning of our lives and give purpose. Compare that for a minute to an old mindset of our past acts being weighed and judged so that we might receive reward or punishment in an afterlife. This is something entirely different. This is what meaning making we each do with our own stories and our own living. And here we are, still in a position, all of us, because we're here. I think we're alive. Blink your eyes if you are. We're still in a position to write our own stories. To ponder what meaning we give our living and to start telling those stories of meaning with those around us right now. To talk about how the values we're living now connect our past and our present and how it might continue beyond our time and our place. We speak words of intention every week. But we also know that that is just one piece of our living, right? That intention leads to action, that action leads to our attention, and around we go. The last bit of that Jesus narrative, I promised I'd come back to it at the end. It is awfully curious. The story goes on to tell of Jesus removing the stone from Lazarus' tomb and calling him out. Come on, Lazarus, come out. You've been dead for 4 days, I know, but stand up, come out, rise from the dead. What wisdom is this symbolic and mythical story trying to tell us? It's not the power of the Almighty that can raise the dead. Hallelujah. It is not that. Well, I'm not going to take that away from you if you want. It's not that for me, I'll say. How can we ignore the fact that the process of Lazarus coming alive again comes only after shared grief, shared tears, anger, objection, complaining, grief in all of its wild and wondrous ways? The question that this story and this raising of Lazarus, quote unquote, story is asking us, the questions it's asking us is, what will be called out from our lives? When we're on a slab, 6 feet under or burned to ash, what will be called out from our tomb? What will be called out of our living, our loving? What stories will be told? What will be called out of our death that will rise up and live even after we're gone? And if our answer is, I'm not sure yet, then we recognize the work we have yet to do. I find that story so powerful, not in the ways that anyone would expect that story to be powerful, but it's powerful to think about just what will be called from us from beyond our lives. It will take courage to walk toward that reality. I'm not sure I know how to do it. Let me tell you that first and foremost. The courage that already, though, is inside of us to look at the wolf of our mortality, to call that story back to us with the children, to hear the wolf of our lives calling us to the fact that that strength is already in us. It's already within us to come face to face with reality, to become its friend and to let it guide us, to strengthen our intentions to live and act in ways that continue writing our story. Like I said, we've all got work to do. So it's just an intention and attention that I leave us with. May we encourage each other in our efforts of good living, of being real clear about the stories we want to tell ourselves, our families, our friends, because of the way we live. But more than that, in our walk toward dying, and what will live beyond us all. May it be so in so many ways.
We are joined together in a bond of love, with cords of freedom and of duty. Connected in the Spirit, our spirits are strong, in a bond of wonder and of beauty. Made by all of us, for all of us, fashioned by everybody's hands. All our differences, all we share, woven into many colored strands. And this bond will hold us through the storm, and encourage us when hope seems gone. Knowing that together we belong, we'll extend our care to the ends of the earth, and love will never be our song. Shared by all of us, with all of us, offered with love that's full and free. Chords of sympathy, chords of joy, stronger for our mutuality. And this bond will hold us through the storm, and encourage us when hope seems gone. Knowing that together we belong, we'll extend our care to the ends of the earth, and love will ever be our song.
As we extinguish this light, we are reminded that energy never is lost, only transformed from one form to another. As we go into the world, may the light of love within us be transformed into a love that meets the needs of all we meet, those we love, our family, our friends, our neighbors, those around the world. And I invite you to join with me in the words you'll see on our screen to strengthen our intentions. We embrace with gratitude the continual movement of life. Wherever we are on life's journey, we encounter times of searching and finding, of questioning and confidence, of hurt and healing. In all times, may we be open to the challenge and wonder that might indulge us toward transformation. Let us strengthen our intentions to embrace the small incremental ways that we grow and become, delighting in all the pieces of life that make the whole. Affirm each other and persist in our deepening journey. Let's help each other find the encouragement to befriend change and expend our living on living our highest values. May it be so.
Why can't this be the day when yesterday gives way to the fresh hope of who we will yet be? Why can't this be the day when needed changes stay, living our strength, claiming our joy, knowing we're free? The past is past, no need for guilt or shame. Its lessons learned, its power is ours to claim. Why can't this be the day when true potential may bring us beyond the limits we see? Why can't this be the day when a fresh start holds sway, living our strength, claiming our joy, knowing we're free? Why can't this be the day when every choice